I was then about 19 years old. I'm already a 4-year salt in the Army since I joined when I was 15. When we first went up online, we were designated as a ammunition platoon, and we would often take ammunition forward to the various companies that would be hit hard overnight, because in those days taking casualties was a very precarious thing. Usually we could take 100 dead and wounded in an infantry company in one night. I had befriended a staff sergeant of one of the infantry companies that we were training doing demolition work. He casually showed me a small flag that he had, it was tri-cornered, like the American flag is supposed to be folded, and he showed it to me. He says, "I'm going to give this to my son when I return to the States." When we went up to the outpost, it was early in the morning. I was again digging through the rubble, looking for bodies and so forth. And I came across this one soldier laying on his back, half covered with debris, and I dragged him out from underneath the debris and so forth, and his jacket fell open, and there that flag was. The whole infantry company took a hard hit that night. Good morning. I am Sergeant Major Charles L. Linden. I retired from the United States Army, 1st Special Forces, 1974. And I was one of 8 master sergeants, first sergeants that were assigned to an engineer detachment, and we did advisory work all over Asia. It certainly is an interesting thing for our younger people that are coming out of the schools today to see how those people are living. Not just Asia, but this holds true in Europe also, that those countries are so far behind the standards that we have established here in America that we don't know how well made we have it. And I realized that while moving through all those islands, you could not drink a glass of water. So I resolved that when I come back to the States after that tour, which was 26 years, I decided that I was going to go into water production. And to this day, I still am qualified to work with 3 different qualifications for water treatment. Okay, we're talking about being in 3rd Infantry Division there in Korea. We came back off the hill after 22 days. It was called Outpost Harry, and that was just towards the last month of the war. On Harry, we took 167 dead and over 600 wounded after 2-3 days operations. It was the 15th Infantry Regiment, which had just replaced us, and I was up there 22 days and nights. This one soldier that comes to mind, his name was Jarman. I never forget, because he was in my squad, and he was the flamethrower man. And in our infantry assault on a Chinese position, it was dug in, and Jarman drew all the fire that he could possibly draw, and Jarman dropped that flamethrower and dove into a hole. Well, when he went into the hole, being squad leader, that was the most lethal weapon we could get forward, and which decides the battles. I went over and picked up the flamethrower, attempting to go forward, and it didn't work. That place got busy as bees, bullets, and I had to crawl back in another hole. And in the process of crawling back in the hole, I got hung up on some communication wire, and that's where I got hit in the throat with mortar shrapnel. And our entire assault unit was completely decimated. When I came back from the hospital, from 25th Station Hospital in Taegu, I spoke to the first sergeant because I went back to the same unit. I spoke to the first sergeant and asked him about what happened to the company that was out there. And of course I could smell quartermaster, mothballs, stuff that they preserve all our uniforms and so forth. And I could smell that throughout the company, and I knew what had happened. They had to replace the company. And the first sergeant told me that his morning report started out with 187 men. Monday morning, that is, he said he only had 11 men on his morning report. I was looking for the opportunity to retire. And we had already purchased a farm in Tennessee, and we were preparing to go to Tennessee. And I received orders to go to Vietnam. Wasn't particularly happy about it, but then you don't discuss things like that with the Department of the Army. You just go. Connie just had her third child, David, and he must have been about a year old.
No, 9.
Anyway, I took Connie and kids down to the airport, Kennedy Airport, and put them on a plane. And while on board the plane, trying to get them seated and so forth, they closed the doors and ready to take off and take me with them. I said, "Whoa, just a minute! I got to get off of here, and I'm going to Vietnam." I didn't know where my family was once they got on that plane and were gone. She got sick. She went into the hospital in Tachikawa Air Force Base, and she was in the hospital there for quite a few weeks. At that time, I didn't think I was going to see her because I thought she was going to die, because she's had her bouts with strokes and so forth, and especially fevers. She saw her school get strafed by P-38 during the Second World War, and they were trying to take out a Japanese torpedo factory, and her school happened to be between the P-38s and the torpedo factory. So when they strafed, they went through there. She was hit in the back with a .50 caliber slug. That's a big piece of metal, and she was paralyzed and in a wheelchair for about 2-3 years after that. And she was suffering a lot of fevers and so forth from that, and that's what put her in the hospital in Tachikawa. My wife was admitted to the hospital because she was sick. I was admitted to the hospital, and some neighbor, luckily, that knew us from 3 or 4 years before, took care of the kids for us. I think that was the biggest tribulation I had as far as keeping family together. Armistice Day, which is of importance to all of us, and it should be, because it's also called Veterans Day. 11 o'clock on 11th day, the 11th month, in the year 1918, armistice was declared. It's a memorial. It's a sacred day. And it should be for all the veterans and their families, especially those that are deceased. The American flag flies in freedom, because we made it that way. The servicemen made it that way. The families did it, the servicemen. Freedom is not free, because all gave some gave their all.